And I'd like to welcome from the United Board Manuel Armendariz. And here we are talking about a landscape, and of course, always a big issue because landscape is ever changing and it's ever maintaining, and a lot of it over the years we've seen is changing the way we look at landscape, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. Landscaping is something that all the members, whether it's United or Third, see every day. So the quality of the service, the condition of the lawns, trees, affects them a lot. So it's very important to them.
Right.
It's very important to the committee too, as well as the staff. Right.
Now, I know that one of the things that's been looked at over the time for years is the tree trimming cycle, because, pardon me, you want to stay on a certain schedule. Of course, every once in a while, might be a tree or two or whatever it might be that needs some pruning for a variety of reasons. But you're looking at changing the cycle, right, of
That's correct, Ken. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I'm on this committee is because I've been concerned about the quality of the service in all our maintenance programs. And a couple of years ago, staff hired a company by the name of Arbor Pro.
Yeah.
And they inventoried all the trees.
Right.
And from that, they then continued to do their 34-month cycle. And what they found now, and what they're going to do starting in 2020, is they're going to change to a 5-year cycle. Now that sounds like you're kind of delaying the trimming, but we're not. What we've learned is that the trees all vary by different species. We have 15,000 trees in United and 236 species. And we're going to go to a species program for trimming trees. And what that will do is there's trees that require trimming once a year.
Right.
Others 2 to 3 years. Some 4 to 5. So that's why we're stretching out over a 5-year period now. And I think that'll help us to catch up, and it'll do a better job overall.
Okay, but you, again, as you said, some trees are going to require more than others.
Yes, correct.
Now, Arbor Pro, I remember, I'm trying to think when that came in, 3 years ago?
About 3 years ago, that's correct.
And have you seen changes by utilizing Arbor Pro?
The changes that I've seen from that is that we now know the quantity of trees and the species. Before that, we didn't really have that information. And that's what's caused us to go to the new program that we're going to start in 2020. We think that'll be more efficient, and it'll be more effective because, like I said, some trees require trimming every year, and we weren't doing them every year. And we've fallen behind in the schedule, actually.
Yeah.
And I think this will help us to catch up.
Okay.
In connection with that, there's another thing that we're doing, again, starting in 2020. We're going to hire an outside contractor to do about 2/3 of the trimming. And what that will do is that will free up staff to do other landscape functions. And so we get two benefits. And also the company we're contracting the tree trimming out with are actually going to do it at a lesser cost than we could do it internally. So we get those two benefits, a lesser cost, and it's all covered in our business plan for 2020. And the other problem we've had in landscaping is that we've been unable to hire all the staff that we need. And we'll now be able to free up some of the people that were in the tree trimming program to do other things like shrub maintenance, lawn maintenance, and those kind of things. Right now, we're currently short 11 staff members in landscaping, and we have another 3 that are scheduled to go on retirement this next year. So now we'll be able to shift pretty close to that number of people from tree trimming to doing other functions.
Okay. Now, one of the other programs that has been looked at really over the years is what's called the Yellow Stake program. So first, explain that program. There might be people who don't know what it is.
All right. In the past, we've had a program where we've allowed people to plant, let's say, colorful plants like petunias or azaleas, and it was limited to an area that was right next to their manor. But it's part of the common area. So we would allow people to come in, and we would provide them with yellow stakes. And they could select a portion of the property that's right next to their manor to do that. But what we found now is there's been abuses to it.
Right.
And so the people that are under that program right now are going to be grandfathered in. But what we're going to change to, starting in 2020, is that if somebody wants to go on that program, they have to fill out a request form that's submitted to landscaping. And it's just not automatic.
Mm-hmm.
All those requests will now be approved by the landscape committee. And if people don't conform to it, we've always had the right to discontinue the program. That's what we're going to do. We're going to look at it more critically now, and make sure that people are abiding by the program. Make sure that the plants that they use are plants that are approved by landscape department.
Okay,
So
but
that's
they'll...
the change. We're not discontinuing.
Right, yeah.
We're just going to modify the program.
Okay. And when there is that program, the Yellow Stake, it also means it's up to them to maintain those plants, right?
Correct.
I mean,
Absolutely.
the watering might be on the same system, but they still have, yeah.
Usually there's sprinklers there because there's been, let's say, some other kind of shrub and they want to change the type of plant that's in there. And we'll allow that as long as it conforms to the plants that landscaping allows in those sections. But the watering and all that, it's their responsibility to maintain them as far as trimming them, cleaning them out, and all that. But the watering is generally provided through the sprinkler system that's already in place.
Okay. Now, Aliso Creek is an area that has always been sort of a problem for a variety of reasons.
Yes.
It goes through different areas. It, of course, is under the auspices of the county. I should say many different jurisdictions that it flows from up in, way up in the canyons and comes down here and makes its way out into the ocean. So therefore, the section that runs through the village is a small part of that, but it has to conform with the whole.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I could say a lot about the creek, but I'll try to limit it because I know we've got only so much time. In the village, it flows from Paseo de Valencia, where it enters the community.
Yeah.
And then it flows out of an opening next to Moulton.
Yeah.
And so a lot of members don't realize that the property through which the creek flows actually belongs to GRF. So when I joined the committee, I thought to myself, because a lot of times some of the property just outside of the creek, past the banks, was being neglected. And the excuse that was always used was that, well, we couldn't touch that area. So I finally convinced...
May I ask why they said they couldn't touch it? Is because of the county or something else?
There's about a lot of rules that we fall under.
Okay.
Under about 5 different jurisdictions. The main one is the wildlife and fish. And so one of the things that has happened is that we cannot remove the cattails, which are in the creek, and that gets a lot of the flow. But under the program, we're able to trim them down twice a year. And it's limited to certain times of the month. But as a consequence of being short-staffed and doing as much as we could to keep the community as maintained as well as possible, that area got neglected. So we've done 2 things. One, we've had a survey done, and the engineering survey now determines the actual boundaries of the creek between what falls under GRF and what falls in United. And the other thing we've done in connection with that, we have cleaned up the creek. We've gone in there and besides trimming down the cattails, we've gone in and cleaned up all the areas that fall into the United section. Right. So at the last GRF meeting, where the topic of the creek came up, that's the first meeting I've been to where every member got up at the section where they could talk about their comments and their concerns, and they were all very complimentary. So I think the fact that we've done the survey and now we're paying better attention to it, I think we're going to see a whole better environment out there. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
That's good. I mean, it's difficult. It really is because of all, as you said, all the jurisdictions that are involved. It's not simple.
No. I have one other thing to add to that, and that's that Kurt Weeman and his assistant Eve Morton are doing
Yeah.
a great job.
Yeah.
Because I've been very critical of our landscape quality. And I know that Kurt is also working with some of these agencies to see if at a reasonable price we can get credits from other areas. There's a program where you can purchase credits.
Okay.
And that will allow you to basically dredge the creek. I mean, remove the cattails and really clean it up.
Yeah.
So that is being looked into. I
Okay.
don't have anything to report right now, but maybe something will develop from that will solve the whole problem.
So it's kind of like that carbon credit program, only
Yes.
it has to do with,
Right.
yeah. Very interesting. All right. Anything else you want to add for today?
Yes, a reminder, again, this falls in the landscape department. Starting December 27th, you can call resident services to have your tree picked up.
Okay, that's right. Yes.
And there's,
Yeah.
of course, rules. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to follow the rules, and I think you have to put them curbside and only in certain locations.
Yeah.
But that is available, and I think that's a great program that's offered by Landscape.
Yeah, and make sure all your ornaments and lights and all that are off of there.
Good reminder.
Yes. Good to see you.
Thank
Merry
you very
Christmas
much.
to you.
Pleasure
Happy
to be here.
holidays. And we'll be right back.